Hillary Clinton and all of them are freaking out because what they did is backfire on by the Jeffrey Epstein case. So let's get into it.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. And of course, here's the meme of the day, brought to you by FiveMind.com. Well, the Clintons did everything they could to avoid being summoned to Congress to testify, of course, on their alleged connection to the late Jeffrey Epstein and his accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell. They were told to show up to testify, they were subpoenaed, and they fought it tooth and nail. But of course, a congressional subpoena is not really something that you can fight. And well, I think it's making a whole lot of sense why they fought so hard, why they really didn't want this moment to happen, and that's because, holy frickin' moly, from an optics sense, this is bad. Hillary Clinton has been summoned to testify, and we've got a lot of interesting little things coming out from that testimony. Of course, as you guys know, it's not being televised, it's happening privately. I'm sure we'll get a transcript at some point. But we have some little leaks, some little moments, and then of course Hillary Clinton desperately engaging in what can only be described as dissociative damage control. And well, I think it might have made things worse in a lot of ways. The Clintons have a lot to answer for, let me tell you that. Let me show you guys this Epstein disaster that's, I'd say at this point, thoroughly backfiring on the Democrats. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so it appears Hillary Clinton's congressional testimony isn't exactly going so well. Like I said, it's happening privately, but there was actually a photo of Hillary Clinton in the moment that was leaked. And just take a look at the picture here. Yeah, she doesn't exactly look calm, cool, and collected now, does she? No, of course not. She looks like she's absolutely freaking panicking. Like a deer caught in the headlights. And more information that appears to show that it's not exactly going well for him. We've got another moment here. Apparently following the leak of that photo of her looking completely flabbergasted, one of her advisors appears to have stormed out of the hearing. Take a look.
Hey guys, just a very quick thing. My name's Nick Merrill. I'm an advisor to Secretary Clinton. There were some photographs shared on social media. The hearing has been paused briefly while they figure out where the photo came from and why possibly members of Congress are violating House rules.
It's looking defensive, it's looking chaotic, and frankly to me it looks like cockroaches frickin' scattering. And the best proof of that isn't from that leaked photo, it's not from her advisor and whatever nonsense he was spewing, but rather from the nonsense that's being spewed from Hillary Clinton's face hole. We got her now doing a little press conference after, trying to play the victim. You know, she's very clearly engaging in some manipulative behavior here. She's feigning ignorance and of course sprinkle in a little bit of victimhood. She seems to want to shift the conversation now to apparently a rule being violated by a member during the testimony, and just how outrageous that was, and how, I'm assuming where she's probably going with this, the whole thing should just be shut down because a rule was violated. Oh yes, no more questions. An undescribed rule was violated. Oh, how stupid.
We had a bit of a challenge in the beginning because we had agreed upon rules based on the fact it was going to be a closed hearing at their demand, and one of the members violated that rule, which was very upsetting because it suggested that they might violate other of our agreements. So we had to cease the hearing for a period of time until we could get assurances that no rules would be broken going forward, and we returned to answer questions repetitively, literally over and over again. I don't know how many times I had to say I did not know Jeffrey Epstein. I never went to his island. I never went to his homes. I never went to his offices. So it's on the record numerous times.
Yeah, clearly that's just a distraction from the real issues. And I think most people are probably going to share my sentiment here. We don't care about little rules being violated. No, what we want to know is the relationship between the Clintons, and especially Bill Clinton, and Jeffrey Epstein and his co-conspirators. But of course, Hillary Clinton's not going to give us anything. No, you caught it right there. She's now pushing herself away, disassociating herself. She had nothing to do with any of it. In fact, she even takes it to the next level by claiming that she didn't even know Jeffrey Epstein. She never met him, was never anywhere near him, she claims. But I find that a little bit interesting. I find that kind of interesting. In fact, first off, because as we know, it's documented, Jeffrey Epstein seemed extremely close with Bill Clinton, and secondly, because there's a Jeffrey Epstein email that we covered a while ago, where Jeffrey Epstein describes meeting Hillary Clinton, and he says, quote, "She's much prettier in person." There's also another email that says, "I would like to invite you to attend a very intimate fundraising event with Hillary Clinton." There's another one that says, "Meetings with Hillary are not easily discreet." When? But Hillary really wants us to believe that she didn't even know him. She knew nothing about him. She never spoke to him. In fact, she must have had a restraining order against Jeffrey Epstein. And it was just her hound husband who she couldn't keep away from Jeffrey, I guess, but she had no knowledge, no understanding of who he was or what was going on. Yeah, again, I wasn't born yesterday, and every time with these Democrats, especially when their back's against the wall, they say stuff that just makes me have the same reaction. Do I look stupid? Does it say stupid on my forehead? And it's even more unbelievable after you digest this next clip.
My daughter Chelsea Clinton's wedding in 2010. She'd already been mentioned in a civil lawsuit by Virginia Giuffre before that. Jeffrey Epstein had already been convicted before that.
She came as the plus one, the guest of someone who was invited.
I mean, come on. Oh, I have no idea who these people are, but Epstein's most trusted confidant, his number two in his whole human trafficking operation, attended her daughter's wedding? How do you explain that? Well, apparently Hillary Clinton thinks her explanation is valid. Well, she was simply a plus one, someone else's plus one. Okay, and you accepted it? What does that change? Of course, it changes absolutely nothing. After Ghislaine Maxwell was already connected to this stuff, after Jeffrey Epstein was already outed as a predator, you guys invited her, possibly by proxy through someone else, but there's no evidence to suggest that. She was invited to your daughter's wedding, that was approved, and then she attended the wedding without a care in the world, no pushback. Oh, look at this. Human trafficking frickin' honeypot expert over here is drinking wine and eating off the cheese plate at her daughter's wedding. Ooh, nothing to see here. Perfectly normal behavior. Absolute insanity. And then to turn around and say, I don't even know these people. It really feels like a didn't do nothing moment. I mean, caught red-handed in terms of the actual connection. And then just putting their hands up in the air. Oh, I didn't do nothing. I don't know anyone. I don't know anything. I wasn't a part of any of this stuff. My husband, Bill Clinton, Bill who? Give me a frickin' break. And what's craziest about this whole thing is that the left still wants you to be outraged over Donald Trump and his non-existent connection to Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, a very surface level socialite connection in Palm Beach in New York, where they appeared at parties together a long time ago, well before people knew who Jeffrey Epstein was, some of it dating back in the 90s. Apparently they want you hyper-focused on Donald Trump, the pedo protector. Meanwhile, look what's happening on their side. I mean, come on, there's obviously a distinction here. The Clintons had Ghislaine Maxwell at their daughter's wedding, and this was after everything was known about them. Meanwhile, on the flip side, Donald Trump kicked Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell out of Mar-a-Lago and then called the police on them, and all of which is totally documented and verifiable. I mean, come on. It's an insult to the intelligence of anybody who could think even remotely analytically, anybody who can read and actually puts in the basic effort of reading the files and following the emails, following the story. But of course, as per usual, the Democrats are preying on the stupid. They're hoping people aren't smart enough to actually realize what's going on, and they're hoping they could get away with the weaponization of the Epstein files. Well, as per usual, unfortunately for Democrats, the people aren't nearly stupid as they think, and it appears this little Epstein play is backfiring harder than you could possibly imagine. And this, I believe, is probably the greatest proof of that. Anyways, that's what I got. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
And former President Bill Clinton says he saw nothing and did nothing wrong. He was questioned by the House Oversight Committee today about his ties to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. A former Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, was deposed by the same group yesterday. ABC's Perry Russum is in New York.
In his opening statements released online, former President Bill Clinton says he had a brief acquaintance with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein that ended years before Epstein's crimes came to light. The former president writing in part, "As someone who grew up in a home with domestic abuse, not only would I not have flown on his plane if I had any inkling of what he was doing, I would have turned him in myself and led the call for justice for his crimes, not sweetheart deals." Clinton facing the Republican-led House Oversight Committee and its investigation into Epstein. The former president questioned a day after his wife, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, was deposed.
Yesterday, Ms. Clinton deferred a lot of questions to her husband today. There were at least a dozen times when she said, "You'll have to ask my husband that. I can't answer that."
Democrats on the committee say they want to ask the former president about Epstein's finances, Epstein survivors, and any foreign intelligence.
President Clinton's sworn statement said that he had no knowledge of the crimes that were committed, and I know that we're committed to asking tough questions about that today.
Democrats today renewing their call to depose President Trump.
He appears in the Epstein files next to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell almost more than anybody else.
Appearance in the files is not evidence of wrongdoing. President Trump has consistently denied all allegations of any wrongdoing in connection to Epstein or knowledge of Epstein's crimes.
Concerned at all about President Bill Clinton being deposed and that sets precedent for you and your family?
I don't like seeing him deposed, but, they certainly went after me a lot more than that. Look, I like him, and I don't like seeing him deposed.
It comes as the Department of Justice overnight restored a picture that appears to show Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick visiting Epstein's private island. A DOJ official says the picture was taken down in a batch of files that were flagged for nudity. There is no nudity in the picture. Lutnick has strongly denied any wrongdoing. Democrats again today calling for Lutnick to testify. Congressman James Comer says it's very possible. In his opening statement, former President Bill Clinton defended his wife, saying she had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. Congressman James Comer says it's possible the recordings of the depositions could be released as soon as today. Harry Russell, ABC News, New York.
Because of working on investigations into President Trump are lying or misrepresenting?
Well, those matters are alleged in litigation, which is ongoing, so I can't comment on those specifically.
Could you comment on why you fired former acting FBI Director Driscoll?
I can't because it's ongoing litigation.
Could you say now definitively under oath that the rank and file agents who were assigned to work January 6 cases will not be terminated because that's what they were assigned to do?
I've said it before and I've said it again. Your case assignment, as I was given case assignments when I was a young prosecutor, does not dictate your career or your termination.
Thank you.
Believe me, you'll want to hear every second of this. Senator Chris Coons suddenly leaned forward while the papers were in front of him and spoke into the microphone.
Actions taken by the FBI should I be confirmed as director. I told you that in your office. I tell you that again today. I'm concerned that that's not what's happened. That since you took over as director, you've cleaned house or forced out senior leaders across the Bureau, in particular targeting those that worked on investigations of President Trump.
The Delaware Democrat, after wading through most of the afternoon testimony, posed a question directly addressing resource allocation. Director Patel, I want to understand something about your budget testimony. The hearing room had settled into the rhythm of late afternoon proceedings. Nearly 5 hours had passed since the session opened. Patel was sitting at the witness table, his posture quite formal despite the length of the day. In May, Coons continued,